Zora, if you don't know who I am. I'm joined today with Jason, and this is Rigged by Design. We are both watching the same pattern basically unfold
on opposite ends of the country.
on opposite ends of the country. Now, Jason, before we dive in, I know you sent me some information. And I did actually read through it.
Did
What
you?
was the, yeah, I did. What was the headline that hit you the hardest this week?
Uh, to be honest, I don't think it was a headline. Um, I stumbled across a comment in one of my videos on TikTok that said to go watch this documentary called Vigilante Inc., which I did. And then I watched the guy's interview afterwards. And that is what this week, that is what's got me inside. I am like, I'm angry. It doesn't show. I try to, in my videos and on live, I'm like, I'm being poised, but inside I am screaming at what, and it's just not just Georgia. I looked up information, did a couple videos today. This happened in Michigan about voter suppression, specifically black voters, and the number of voters that were purged, and not
Right.
registrations. I'm talking ballots, the number of
Yeah.
ballots that were kicked for whatever stupid reason, signature or whatever reason. And when I found out that there was a lady who was actually born in Canada, lives in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, she said, I was given a list and she was able to legally challenge over 30,000 ballots in Georgia.
Yeah.
30,000.
Yeah. And Greg Palast
Yep.
actually showed those numbers. And I think I forward you my real story, the very first one, in which case I
Yep.
actually used Greg Palast statistics in developing that story. This was before ETA was coming out with all their results
Yep.
and etc. So I used
And the
smart.
numbers, just real quick, the numbers in my state alone, that what I did this morning in a video was just on the mail-in early ones in Michigan.
Mhm.
He allegedly wins Michigan. He won it by 80,000 votes.
Right.
Just on the mail-in challenges in Michigan was 63,000.
Yeah.
That doesn't include same day because you're allowed to challenge votes on in-person day, whatever, in-person voting. So
And
yeah,
what makes us think that this is not going to take place in 2026?
it's gonna. It's and what my
It's
favorite comment from Greg was, the comment in his interview, the guy's like, well, what do you think Democrats? What are they going to do about it? And he said, well, um, they're kind of like jellyfish. In order to do something about anything, you got to have a spine to stand up,
right.
and they're just, and that's when it really hit me this week that you know what, it's all of them, it's all of them. And I mean, maybe a handful of good people, good people that are in Congress, just a handful that truly care, and you can tell by their financial wallet.
Absolutely.
All of
And do you have any answers to how we're going to go about changing this? I mean, the
Doesn't the
reality,
Constitution say we have the right to remove a fascist government and install a new one?
yes, it does.
Well, you want to know my answer? There's my answer. But it's going to take. It's not. It's going to take.
It's an uphill
It
battle.
can't be. A person on the internet like me or you. It would literally take a fucking revolution, and I mean a revolution of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people going to Washington D.C. saying, "Get the hell out! All of you, get the hell out!"
Well, that kind of brings me to the other article that you just sent over to me, and this is
Was
called
that the
"Dispute."
Michigan Advance one?
Yes, that's the
Yep.
Michigan. It's called, and I will link it up to this podcast. But this
Elliot.
one is called Disputed Data, Familiar Claims. Michigan officials push back on the 2024 doubts.
Yep.
And in there, basically, Taylor, who is the representative over from ETA, he basically doesn't and say, okay, irregularities took place. But what he basically is saying, based upon the statistics that we have here, at least um, deserves another look to take a look at.
Further
What was
investigation.
right, a regular investigation. What was the chain of custody? Why are we getting these types of results? And one of the major things that people point out that goes against ETA, they use the same argument that I use in regards to justify their analysis. They use the
Mhm.
argument that the statistics are human based analysis. And with the human based analysis, you cannot use this particular type of analysis. In some aspects, that is true. But what they're failing to look at is that they're using what I would say is big data analysis. And big data analysis you cannot use with to describe human behavior. So what they don't recognize is that ETA is not using big data. They're using very little pre-seed
Mhm.
analysis in
If they
order
were
to
to take the whole country, basically, is what you're
Right,
saying, and then do that, yeah, no. But they've taken the whole country and they've broken it down into pieces, looking at the data. And I
correct.
particularly liked the part where they said, well, considering Detroit and its high Muslim population, that could be a factor as well. And I said, well, and my argument is I kicked right back against it, and I'm
Right,
like, well, that's fine. They do, but you're talking Dearborn. You're talking a couple of precincts. You're not talking
right,
Detroit or surrounding areas. I mean, I live here. I live in
right,
Michigan. I know the area. The entire county, and then you have Dearborn, where the overwhelming majority, like 96% of the Muslim community, lives there. So
right.
that argument was just like, really? That's the
Well,
best you got?
the other argument is, once again, they're comparing the 2024 election to 2020.
Yeah.
And there were major difference. They're saying that the people that are saying that there were irregularities with the 2024 election, they're saying it's like they're looking for a boogeyman, somebody who has this nefarious means, like using Elon Musk,
In the
you
White
know,
House.
right? That they actually say it's a lot easier to say Elon Musk or some nefarious boogeyman was able to somehow, without any real method, to
Do you know who
infiltrate.
you know who hasn't been talked about in quite a while? Roger Stone.
You're absolutely right.
And, yeah, I mean, Steve Bannon's out there, doing his thing, as you would expect, but Roger Stone has been quite quiet as of lately. And when I started this journey, when I started my journey on TikTok, one of the first things I learned was, and I didn't know this, was when the DNC was hacked way back when. So was the RNC.
Yeah, both of them were.
Nobody. A lot of people are like, "What?" Yeah, but see, they don't have to release what they hacked. Till this day, we still don't know. And that after that hack, if you go just 2 weeks before, you have people like Lindsey Graham. What the hell is the Cancun cruise down there in Texas? Trump will never be our nominee. Trump is not going to be our he's a racist, xenophobic, bigot. Blah blah. And then that hack happens, and within weeks of that hack, um, you know, they're all like, "Trump's our guy. Trump's our guy." When Lindsey Graham did an interview with George Stephanopoulos, I think it was, in the back of a limousine, saying, "What's not to love about Joe Biden? He's a great guy." Joe Biden is awesome. He's a caring, charismatic, and then to Joe Biden is the devil, he's the enemy. In a couple weeks. That's shit I don't forget. And I'm like, the only thing that would make any man flip like that is blackmail. And looking at everything that here we are, 10 years later, everything coming out, that the whole Q shit being started, back in the early days of Reddit, 4chan and all that shit. I am just like, of course, we got manipulated just like they did.
Well,
We did.
absolutely. Well, the title of the show, the previous one before I deleted it or whatever I did, was lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. This going back to the whole thing. We are forgetting instrumental names because they're keeping us bombarded in the chaos,
Yep.
you know? And the chaos is surrounding us, and the burden falls upon us. Oh, you didn't know about it? I don't know what to call you. Dash dash? Should I call you dash dash? Wow, you didn't know about all that. You gave some new
Yeah.
information that Jason, thank you for giving that new information.
Yeah, see,
So
I boil it down to 2 different people. I'm not saying whoever that comment is that it is like this. There are people that try to pay attention, but they just, their life is busy, and that's the intent. That's where the rig by design comes in. They want you, either the mom barefoot pregnant in the house, the dad working 80 hours a week, so you can't pay attention. Then there's people like me that do pay attention that can deliver this information. And but then you have those people that own these type of platforms that suppress that information so only certain people can, um, you know, so that information can only reach so many people. Then you have the people that are like, "Nope, I don't wanna see it.
I
It's not
see no
affecting me.
evil, speak
I
no
don't
evil,
care."
hear no evil. Yeah,
Yep. But
they don't
everything
reckon.
they do in Washington, DC affects every single person in this country, and they have to
Absolutely.
understand that.
Absolutely, and I've always talked about how the politics originally was out there in the macro, you know? But right now, it affects us in the micro. It affects each one of us individually, and so that's what I like to talk about is how does it affect me, my family? How does it affect you and your family? And I like to say I'm an empath, so I hurt when other people hurt, you know? So I just it's become a little too much for me. My writing has dropped off, um, in the
It's a
last
lot.
couple it's in the last couple of weeks because there's so much that I'm trying to process, and that's not good. That's not good when my writing's dropping off because I'm having a hard time processing everything that's being thrown at it, and that's the whole point. Let's
Yep.
think about it that way. That's the whole point. People like me are having a hard time processing all this. I mean, let's bring it back to Epstein right now. Everybody's focused on Epstein. And I'm not saying what has happened in the files is not atrocious. It is atrocious. And I'm basically saying that we have to, I look at it from a critical eye. The reality is a lot of this stuff. I'm going to say, do you remember the game Telephone?
Mhm.
Okay, telephone is when you tell somebody one thing, and they may have Epstein in the part of the conversation and another part of the conversation. Then you tell that person goes and tells another person. That person goes and tells another person. By the end of the
Yep.
conversation, let's say about 20 people, the story has morphed from one thing to
Yep.
another thing.
I tell it differently. I teach my kids, look, like when, 'cause they're in junior high now, and I'm like, "Look, gossiping is one thing," and I explain it to them so they can understand it, like how a dime turns into a dollar really fast. If you loan Jane 10 cents and she tells a friend that, "Hey, you know, Jenny loaned Jane 10 cents," and
Right.
that other friend's gonna say, "Hey, did you hear that Jane, loaned" who the hell is that? Sorry, that Jane loaned Jenny 20 cents, and then the story just builds and builds and builds and builds. Sorry.
JJ.
No,
Okay,
yep. But you get
dash
it.
dash
Somebody's
works
messing with
too.
my
Okay.
mail.
Thanks. Thanks. So I gave you a new.
Sorry, I got distracted. There was some I mean, they're putting shit in my mailbox.
Okay,
Okay.
so but that actually leads back into the telephone game. Here you got
Yep,
distracted. That distraction gets part of the conversation. Then it becomes something else. What I'm
yep,
saying is within the Epstein files, everything that's there has not been adjudicated. What does that adjudicated means? It has not necessarily gone to trial. So some of the stuff that's in there, and I know people are not going to want to hear this, some of the stuff in there is not true. It hasn't been adjudicated. And so with that being said, he gets distracted easily.
Well, when somebody's in my mailbox putting crap in it and it's not a mail truck, I'm like, okay, what are you doing?
So let's just take one of those files. One of the files is actually a table, and the table was created back in 2025. I pinpoint the date immediately, August the 8th, 2025. And within the table, you have very atrocious things taking place during different time periods. But within that particular table, it has no reference to where they got the information. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's put together very sloppily, but with nothing to reference it. So maybe there was a telephone conversation that took place. Sometimes it is a first party, sometimes it's a second party, sometimes it's a third party. How well can you trust the information from a third party? The reality is that unfortunately, the victims are going to have to come forth and it has to go to court. But in the
Katie
mean,
Johnson did
yes,
again.
go on.
Katie Johnson came forward again this
Good,
time. She
good.
came out. She's like, nope, I'm. Um, she came forward, and that's the pseudonym for the one original case that I think it took place in California, if I remember right. I have the case number like saved or whatnot. And then she was going to come forward. She had the high profile attorney. I can't remember her name. She's a woman. And then she was getting death threats and everything. And she just said, nope, I'm out. And then now just recently she came
She's
forward. And what I think is important about the files is people have to understand nothing's going to happen. Not right now. Nobody's going to do anything with the current makeup of the government. Nobody's going to be arrested. Nobody's going to be charged. The three most important things to me in these documents are the victim testimonies, because those are firsthand testimonies, and the photographs and the emails. Those are what's important. Everything else is, you
right.
know,
The creation of the tables, the this, the that, you have
yep,
to be able to link it to something else. And the fact that they released 3.5 million documents,
they didn't release it at all.
you know, that that they did that on purpose.
Yep,
They did that on purpose. So they know that what the way people are going to be able to find information is through keyword searches. And the keyword searches are only going to take you so far. But just think about how many of those things that we're not touching upon within the 3.5 million documents. Now, some of this stuff that this table referenced to could be within those 3.5 million documents, but then you have to get very specific in what are your keywords in order to find that particular document. And I don't have the threshold to do that.
nope.
But I do agree with you. In regards, my key points were the documents release creates outrage, but it comes without resolution. So we're all outraged. We're all pissed off. We're all like, how could this happen right underneath our nose? And in my opinion, it didn't happen underneath my nose. I knew it was happening. I knew it
We
was
all did.
happening back in 2016.
We all did. I
Um,
think the point of it is when he finally signed that bill to release it, I think it was, fuck it. I'm just going to do it.
yeah,
I'll make fun. That was it. But then hearing what JD Vance finally said the other day, like, well, Trump named in there, but he has nothing to do with that social circle. Are you shitting me? Like, did you clearly are not reading any of this shit. You're supposed to be the vice president of the United States. And what? You said what? But
yeah.
what it has
But
done is it has caused some very high profile mega Trump supporters, a couple of podcasters. I can't remember the guy's name because I don't watch him, but he had, several million followers and a real loyal following. It has caused people like him to say, you know what? I went through this and I'm disgusted. I have no excuse for it. He took what I can't remember the guy's name, but he took accountability for it, and he's like, I apologize to everybody, and all I could think to myself was, apology not accepted.
Well, yeah,
Who told you?
absolutely, absolutely. I
But
agree
he
with
did
that.
come forward to his audience of millions of people, and say, you know what, the liberals, they were right. They were right about everything.
I've been seeing a lot of headlines within YouTube, a variety of other things that go to the fact the left were right. I've been seeing a lot of titles with "the left were right," um, where they're saying that some of MAGA is actually coming over to the other side because the left were right.
Yep.
But I'm not sure that I really believe that.
I don't. The people that are not going to change their mind are the overwhelming majority that live south of the Bible Belt. The I don't know how else to say it, but the poor white trash that continuously votes against their own interests. The same people that they believe these Republican representatives that I'm going to bring jobs and infrastructure. We're going to fix this. We're going to fix that. And then they say, all right, we're going to vote for them. They vote for them. They don't do nothing. Election cycle comes around and it's just a constant circle.
Yes, I
Those are the
agree.
people that are not going to change their mind about Trump.
Just want to stop for 1 second and acknowledge some of the people that recently joined. Wolfgang, thank you for finding us again. I apologize for that. I accidentally pressed in. I was a little bit discombobulated, obviously.
I'm not.
Um, obviously. Um, yes, Dina happens to be my mother. She says we're drowning in the minutia, and
Yeah, we
yes,
are
we're absolutely are, and that we can't believe our lying eyes.
pretty much. That's about it.
So, absolutely, I do agree with that. So, but and my final thought will be is Epstein isn't being used to deliver justice. He's being used to flood the zone.
Yep. Hey, Don. Papa Don's in here.
Welcome, Papa Don. So that's my opinion about Epstein. So part of the reason why I don't talk too much about it is because there are so much other things going on out there, so much other shit, and we're not going to be able to prosecute all these bad men because
Why not?
that's not how it works right now.
I know, but I'm looking, you know, somebody made a good point earlier is like, this is going to end someday.
It
So
will.
what happens after? There's a governor or a gubernatorial candidate in Florida that's running, and he's running on the fact he's like, I will prosecute every single name in those files in the state of Florida. So that's
I
kind of my
I I'm
argument. Is why not?
I like hearing that, and I want that to happen. So while we're burning energy on Epstein, while we're burning all this energy on Epstein, enforcement continues elsewhere. So
Yep.
which brings us to ICE. Now, recently, we were in a very, a partial shutdown is how they describe it, a partial
Yeah.
shutdown. And as of 2 days ago, we that partial shutdown, everything that was put into for appropriations, has passed, except the ICE funding. Now, I want to make something very clear. I read something that, oh, this is positive because this means that the Democrats are doing something. They were able to pull out the ICE funding, and now we get to negotiate for another. 2 weeks, I believe. I think February the 12th to February the 12th, which would be next week. And so for us to get what we need from ICE. Let me make something very clear. Everything that was appropriated comes from the be. And that was atrocious bill in the first place. There's nothing positive about us waiting another 2 weeks. ICE funding is still going on. They're still doing what they need to do. They still have money. So let's make that very clear. Regardless of, oh, it's a
It's not
positive,
gonna stop it.
it's not going to stop it right now. So this is something that's very, it's disheartening that we've been flooded with so much chaos that now we're believing that this is a positive.
No. I nothing about it. I have I have a lot of, lived experience in the immigrant community. I mean, my mom was married to a bunch of them. Uh,
A bunch of
you know
them.
yeah, she was married a few times, before, but her last husband, he was from,
Oh, you're not saying
Acapulco.
polyamorous.
Yeah, she was with him for 20 years, before she passed away, and, my sister, my nephew's, their dad was, also an immigrant who was here, and he got deported. This is all before Trump, right? Because he couldn't stop drinking and driving like a dummy. And I tell him, "Stop, dude." And he finally stopped, but it was too late. So those kids grew up without their dad, and, um, other than, stuff like that Americans do on an everyday, level, like drinking and driving or whatever if they get caught. Um, I've never met an immigrant that, is who they describe. They like to use one, Laken Riley, but what they don't like to say about Laken Riley is he was convicted and sentenced to life in prison under our judicial system. So, there's that. Um, these people come here from south of the border because of the conditions that they're living in, and they come here and they do all these jobs that Americans are too goddamn lazy to do. I
Ye-
my neighbors behind me last summer got a new roof, and there was 3 clear immigrants doing it. Their entire roof was done in a day. In a
No,
day. They are the
I
hardest working individuals that I've ever come across.
well, the statistics does not support their narrative.
It don't.
This is the statistics, and all of us that live in communities with a high immigrant population know this.
Yep.
So their statistics are most of our domestic terrorists come from Americans per se. So I their statistics does not justify that, but they'll continue to use it until people start believing it.
Mhm.
Um, and that brings me back to the whole fact, and oftentimes they're coming from countries we ruin. Yes,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, most definitely. And I'm not gonna pretend otherwise. So my final thought in regards to that is when enforcement continues uninterrupted, um, this whole funding phase is not leverage, and it
Well, but
cannot be
look why. It's not about when, look why. I mean, we know why. Like, why did he send them to Minnesota? Because Minnesota won't turn over their voter roll.
eh,
Michigan is gonna be next on the list because Michigan is not sending them, the information they want. This is all, a quick quid pro quo, if you will. I'm gonna send ICE unless you give me this, but they're not saying that, they're just gonna do it. Then they'll say, like they did in Minnesota, "I'll remove them, but this is what we want."
well, this is
I
what
mean,
I
how can anybody that claims to be an American citizen, a a patriot, how can anybody say that's okay? I don't care what party you're from, to have a president do that, that's okay? And then the president coming out saying, "We need to have federal people take over elections and shit." Like, what? That's just noise. That's
eh,
noise, but I take him very seriously. And
yeah,
I hear people say, "Constitution will stop him. Constitution, that's gonna stop him." Yep.
you don't give
What?
a fuck
Because of the
about the
Constitution?
Constitution.
Do you
Sorry.
He gives a shit about that Constitution?
No.
He's just like the rest of them. He probably knows freedom of speech and shall not be infringed, and that's it. Maybe
No,
if he
freedom of speech for him shall not
yeah,
be infringed. For
pretty much.
everyone else, that's not true. Let's qualify that. For the things that the Constitution appeals for him,
Yep.
but everyone else, no. So in my opinion, this is a pattern we have seen before. We see this public fight by the Democrats. We see it appears like resistance,
Mhm.
and then we see the eventual passage.
What I was happy to hear by a Democrat was it Jerry Nadler? Maybe. I can't remember. They were having a hearing. I think it was a Senate hearing, maybe, and he was talking about ICE and with what happened with Renee Good and Alex. He said somebody at some point is going to defend themselves and kill an ICE agent.
Mhm.
That's exactly how he didn't mince words.
Right.
And he said, and they will be within their constitutional right to do so. That's how he put it. And I'm like, I appreciated that statement because, if, for example, if they come into my house, knocking on my door, talking about uh, whatever kind of warrant they say they can use, no, 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 you're going to be met with resistance,
Right.
and it's going to happen. But that's what they want to happen.
They want that
He
to
wants
happen. They want
He's
to
not
be able
happy with Minnesota. He wants chaos everywhere because
to.
he's dead set on that insurrection act. And that once he gets to do that, and I think, by the end of July, that may come. He will do it. And then by that time, he's going to say, well, insurrection act, we can't have elections. And then you're going to have people, but the Constitution, but the Constitution. I'm like, come on, people. Don't be
I do
so delusional.
I do wanna stop you there. I do think the Constitution is our way out, though.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
disagree with that. I don't.
You know,
It
it's just how do we get to that point?
You wanna know
S
how it's gonna happen?
Well, I know you think, revolution.
No, not when it comes to the constitutionality of things. If it gets to that point, like that revolutionary point where people have had enough, what's gonna happen is you're gonna have the military split off into 2 separate factions. You're gonna have the military that, "I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States." And those are the people that are like, I am not a Trump lapdog." And then you're gonna have the other part that are gonna be Trump lapdogs. Well, he's the president, he's the commander in chief, you know? So it's gonna split off into 2 factions. If, this revolutionary thing does, play the way I kinda go in my mind, because people are gonna be people and they're gonna get fed up. Um,
How close
and
do you think we are
that's what's
to
gonna happen.
people getting fed up? Because I was hoping people would get fed up back to the original time that I wrote the original story, and I wrote this whole 2026 how to counter it. So, how long do you think it's gonna take? I was hoping people would get fed up back in March of 2025.
Yeah. The frustrating part for me this week after watching that especially, it has just been, I cannot get it out of my head, you know? He doesn't belong there. I mean,
No, he
he's
doesn't.
literally the illegitimate president, like the literal illegitimate president. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
God. I
yeah, Dash Dash, your new name. Yeah, have seen what Christopher has been talking about. I agree with some of his stuff, but some of the stuff I think that it doesn't come with enough teeth, if that makes any sense. The other thing is, and do want to touch upon this, is I also think that the states could be doing more in
I
fighting
agree.
this regime.
Yeah.
I
And that's
think
part of what
that
I had earlier about bringing them numbers up. What I didn't mention is we have a Democrat governor here in Michigan. And I'm like, where were you? Where were you when this happened during the election?
Well, I do have a little bit of good news. I know other people are trying to do this, but a little bit of good news is in here in California, the redistricting, it went to the appeals court
Mhm.
and it basically we are clear to use our new congressional maps. So the Supreme Court could not say to Texas, you're clear, and then go turn around and say to California, you're not clear. So, with that being said, we are cleared to do the redistricting here in California. So, which would pick up 5 new Democrat seats.
Good.
So we've countered Texas basically. So I did want to drop that into, but that gives you the idea that states can be used, and I hope more states do what California just did.
Probably gonna be too late by then. Maine has already said they're not gonna do it. I read that yesterday or the day before. They're like, "No, we're not gonna do it."
Well, in my opinion, this is what resistance looks like inside the system. You know, this is a structural action. This is something that can be done, and we need to start pushing the states to do more,
Yeah.
especially the
Well,
blue states.
Michigan's not gonna do it, and I'm gonna tell you why they're not gonna do it, because our state is so unique. And, um, in the old map before it was redone after the census, all the districts looked as you would expect, like jigsaw puzzle pieces. Then they were redrawn into more fair districts, and they could try to do it again, but it's not going to change anything, because the districts aren't so puzzle piece together. They're more, they look like what a district should look like. And the overwhelming majority of population in this state are between Grand Rapids, Lansing, and the greater Detroit area. So you can redraw all them districts up north, but there's just not a lot of people that live up there. There's
Right.
one district in the UP, and that's for like half of the Upper Peninsula. That is one district, and that's a blue district. So um,
So
it's
you
just not
don't
going to do
have
any good.
many red districts in what I'm hearing. You don't have
We
many
do,
red.
we do.
And so is there any way to draw a map like they've done in Texas, kind of stretch one area out, overlap it within a blue area?
I mean, I guess they could, but it would be extremely difficult. It really would, because just because of those three areas, you might be able to stretch my district out a little bit and get rid of. There, like we have, I always say, "Fuck Ottawa County," right? Because we have a
Right.
county that's just, well, if you know anything about Michigan, you know about Ottawa County. If we got rid of them, we could maybe stretch District 3 a little bit farther north. That's a possibility, but I don't think there's really any way around it, because, like, where I live in the greater Grand Rapids area, we're it's liberal, right? And there's mega in here, but surrounding us, that's where all the mega live. It's the same thing with Lansing, the capital. Everybody lives in the city and the greater area, but when you go outside that city, that's all mega. Same
Okay.
thing with Detroit. Once you get Detroit, Dearborn, north of that, up to Saginaw, but once you get, I guess you'd look at the Palm, right, that way? And once you get, like, here up, you're not gonna get anything.
Okay.
It's that's we're talking about the districts up there, um, the ones that found those guys that tried to kidnap my governor, not
Oh,
guilty.
God.
I mean,
Yeah.
how
I can't even go there. I mean,
yeah, that's
that's
how Reddit.
something, yeah, that's something we saw live, and I can't even, I can't justify it. I don't understand it. You know, maybe that has to do a little bit with my naivety.
No, it's
I
not entrapment if you're a willing participant. They could have said no at any time. They chose not to. So,
yeah, I'm just having a real difficult time with that. But what I'm saying is this was discussed way back at the beginning, and it's called what they would describe as soft secession. Why aren't the blue states holding back their taxes for the federal
Yeah.
government?
Yes. Again, I go back to the very beginning of what I said. Not what I said, but what was his name? Greg Palast, right?
Right.
It's like a jellyfish. In order for him to stand up, he's gonna have to have a spine. And the only one I see with a spine right now, and it's getting better, is your governor.
Ye
That's it.
yeah,
You're
but
never gonna convince Gretchen Whitmer to do that. She's 2 steps away from, the right. She's a centrist.
now I want everybody who has joined us, just because I'm saying blue, red, doesn't mean I believe in a two-party system. I'm actually
Mm.
anti two-party, but I'm trying to get to a point in which we can actually begin to look at the Constitution again. And the only way that we're gonna be able to do that is we have to fight within the system, and fighting within the system is me recognizing either I'm gonna go blue or I'm gonna go red, and fighting within the system means I'm gonna end up going blue. But that does not mean that I am a Democrat. That means that I'm gonna do whatever is necessary so our Constitution can begin to have some teeth again.
I'm an American before I'm anything.
And I like
Okay.
that comment, Jason. He actually said this to me last week, country before party, and
Yep.
I would say the same thing about myself.
You have to, um and that's what those on the right, the red, can't they're the majority of them are party before country, because they truly believe in what they're told by their representatives and senators. But when you prove them wrong and you look at history, um, when Democrats are in power, we are better off as a nation as a whole, economically, globally. We have always been better off under Democratic policies. Period. Can you imagine if we went back to the policies pre-Reagan, tax policy?
I
That's just, I was smart enough when I was younger, and I've told this story before. First time I was ever gonna vote, I think it was 1996 or whatever. Clinton was running, and I'm like, "I'm gonna vote for Bill Clinton." And my very red Republican family, they all, like a fucking symphony, "No!" I mean, all of them. And they were like, I'm like, "What? Well, you like your guns, don't you? You like to go hunting, don't you? Them Democrats, they're gonna take away your guns rights." And I'm like, "Here it is, 30 years later, still have my gun rights."
no, I my stepfather, I believe in the Second Amendment. I personally do not own guns, but I believe in the Second Amendment. I have family members.
Yep.
I believe in your right to bear arms. And so,
But it was also hijacked.
but I also believe in the Second Amendment responsibly. I do believe that you should have to go in there and responsibly.
Yep, I did.
So,
I went through the
so
steps. I took the classes, I took the test, I went through the background checks, I did all that.
correct.
And, like, you know, I carry everywhere I go, and it's simply because of, um, you
Where you
know,
live, how
where I
you
live, and, so I get threats occasionally online. That's why I was distracted earlier. I'm like, "What the hell are somebody doing putting in my mailbox?" I don't hide who I am. Don that was in here earlier, he's been in, people have confronted him in public, and it's like, "Are you really, dude? Over a freaking video that you don't, because that's how hell bent you are, and the type of cult you are is because of Trump." Um,
yeah, I don't like where we are today as a divisive nation. I don't like the fact that now we're choosing sides.
mhm.
However,
Can you feel it
however,
where you live? Probably
not
not, because you
not
live in a
as
liberal area.
not as much, but Things are happening here. We have a
I
very
can feel it.
we have a billionaire mayor. He is from Levi Strauss. And just recently, we have a institute called the Art Institute that's been part of San Francisco since 2000, since 19 something. So for over 100 years,
Mhm.
18 something, over 100 years. And it is going out of business in 2027, and they're bringing about a technology university, Vanderbilt, in that place. So it's the pushing out the artists in lieu of technology. And we do have the whole tech bros there. And
Yeah,
that has kind of changed the culture here in San Francisco. I have been here for over 50 years. So I have seen how the city has pushed out people of color. I have seen how the city has pushed out artists. We used to be a very blue collared here and artists, and we don't have that anymore. Unions are limited here. So there's a lot of things that it's growing, becoming more centralist, I would
yeah.
say,
We used
less.
to have, um have you ever heard of the art prize? It was
No.
started by it was started by the DeVos family. Yes, that
Mhm.
DeVos family, right? Because 'Cause they're from Grand Rapids.
Okay.
Betsy DeVos, the former education secretary,
Yeah.
and it was a huge thing. People,
Mhm.
um, I can't remember the year it was started, but, they started this art prize, and people came from all over the world to do these art projects, and they would display them all over downtown Grand Rapids, and it was just awesome, and it went on, every year for a while, then it went to every other year, then they moved it to every another city, and it's just kinda, you know, Grand Rapids isn't, like, as big as San Francisco or a New York, but, definitely not New York, but it's just this big city feel, but a big city with a small town feel, right? And when I go in public, I can feel the energy for whatever reason
Mhm.
because, especially the area I live, it's quite diverse, right? So I go to my local Wally World, Walmart, and I'm in there and I can just feel it. I can feel the fear, the anger, the hatred, the what's gonna happen. I can feel the energy and, but the big one I feel is, fear. And like I watch as they exit Walmart and I watch them stupid, the old people they hire at the door, they call them fake security guards to check your bags or whatever. And I'm like, you know, I watched them stop black people and brown people, but I never watched them stop white people.
Yeah.
And the one time I did, I video recorded it.
Mm.
And I still have it somewhere in my Google files. And this poor lady, she had 5 or 6 bags, right? And she was in front of us. She checked out first, right? And she goes through and she's like, "Can I have your receipt?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's making this lady dig through her bags to try to find her receipt. She had like 8 of them. So finally I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, do they have any suspicion of you shoplifting?" She said, "No."
Mhm.
I said, "You do not have to show them your goddamn receipt. Pick up your bags and go."
Right.
And she did. And they do this all the time, but it's just now today, I could feel it. I can feel
I
it. People are angry, people are on edge, and
Have you
I've seen
seen
some shit at that Walmart, let me
I
tell
do
you.
have a question for you. Have you seen ICE, within your areas?
Personally, I have not,
Okay.
but I have people that live in the city that have, so
Mhm.
they are here, but nothing like Minnesota, right?
Or Oregon.
Um,
Oregon right now is being
yep.
Oregon and
Mm.
Minnesota. So,
There's
and
probably I mean, there was a ATF agent, somebody posted that was here, and there's nothing, you know, I think there's been a 1 or 2 incidents here of them, but nothing like what's going on in Minnesota yet. Yet.
okay. Yeah, so I think those are the things that we kinda have to, um, pay attention to. Um, now I do want to kind of wrap this up. I know we were late today and we're kind of late. Well, we
My
weren't
fault.
late.
I'm sorry.
I
I'm
I
sorry.
was on time, but then I got rid of
That's all right.
I got discombobulated again. So I got rid
Hey,
of it.
real quick,
But
my birthday's coming up. I am a Valentine's Day baby. Yes, I am. I will be 52, and I am proud to announce that I am going to be a goddamn grandfather again. I am
yay!
going to be a grandpa again. Yes, I am. I am so happy.
Congratulations.
You have no idea.
Congratulations.
I started bawling. I mean, ugly crying when my daughter told me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just, I was so, it was great. And I'm like, and my wife's like, man, if she has a boy, I'm like, oh,
Uh-oh.
if
Uh-oh.
she has a boy,
You're surrounded by
oh,
girls, aren't you?
yes, I am. Yes, I am. She is all over. I got 4 daughters and I got a granddaughter, and I'm like, we need a boy around here. Yeah, we do. So
So,
yeah, I'm
yeah, congratulations. I'm really happy to hear that.
coming August. August.
I I'm older than you, and I'm still not a grandparent. So,
Hey, all of my okay, my youngest is 11, so she's in junior high, but
mhm.
all my older girls, they all graduated high school. None of them have been teen parents. My oldest daughter,
Oh,
who, another story,
no
she was not a
judgment from me.
teenager.
Right.
My, this is what makes me proud, right? My granddaughter is also 11, the same age as my daughter. Um, but my daughter that's pregnant now, she's 25. She'll be 26. My other daughter is 26 and she'll be 27, and she still doesn't have a kid. She's the 4-year college graduate. So, I made it as a dad. It takes a lifetime, to earn that title dad. Anybody can be a father, right?
Anyone can be a
But
father, but
it only takes a minute.
yeah.
Um, but to become a dad, you got to have a lifetime of understanding, compassion, love, caring, and most important, commitment. And that's what I did. And I instilled many things in my daughters as they grew up, like, do not ever depend on a man. Go
Yeah, you
live
mentioned
your
that.
life for yourself, and do not. Um, and one things that I made regular myself: I don't drink, I don't use drugs. Occasionally, I might, take a edible to sleep or whatever, but I never wanted them to see dad come home from work when I was able to back in the day, and oh, where's my beer out of the refrigerator or whatever. I can count on one hand how many times I've drank in the last decade. I wanted them to have that, that wasn't normal, for
Right.
people to come home, because I watched family members become, alcoholics, stable, functioning alcoholics. I have family members that died of 34 years old of cirrhosis of the liver, 34, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, I don't want that in my life. I want to break that cycle. And
Yeah, I had a
I think my
sister
kids don't really
I had
drink,
a
or even my older
mm,
one.
I have a sister-in-law who, died of, fatty liver disease, and she was very young. So, and alcohol contributed to it.
Thank you,
So,
Dash Dash. Dash
ye
Dash got to fix Dash Dash name.
yeah, well, I gave Dash Dash a nickname because that's what I
Yeah,
see,
don't
Dash
change it,
Dash.
because every time if you do come to our lives, every time you come in, we'll know it's you. Keep Dash. That's your name, Dash Dash.
Every time Dash Dash comments on one of my writings, I will just say, "Thanks, Dash
Yep,
Dash."
that's Dash Dash.
So we'll go from there. Or, reminds me of Morse code.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. I'd
So
like to do a plug, and then you can close up. I don't know if he's still here or not. Um, if you go in the comments, if people are able to, and look up Papa Don, if you don't follow him on TikTok, he don't let his TikTok videos fool you. That he's a really intelligent guy. I really like Papa Don, and I think if you go read his writings, you will enjoy it.
Papa
They're
Don?
they're candid. Yeah, it's Papa Don
No, 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 no. I was gonna look him up on,
Substack.
uh, Substack.
Yep, they're candid, and they're candid in the way where they're entertaining, and but they're truthful. And, so he's another one I really enjoy his writing.
I'm glad to hear that. What we need is more, what I would say, authentic people out there.
Yep,
I'm getting tired of reading the AI drab that's out there,
yep,
but there is some articles that are good AI that are written well, but there are other articles that just continue to repeat the same talking
yeah,
points that everybody else is talking about. I would just say I'm always looking for more authentic voices. I'm looking for voices that have
yep,
are lived in. I'm looking for voices that are able to relate politics to themselves, where that
yeah,
relation is. So that's what I look for when I'm reading something. I am going to post this article that originally that Jason and I spoke about earlier. I'm also going to point the California article just so everybody can see that it was actually we're actually allowed to go ahead and gerrymander our maps for 5 new
yeah,
Democrat votes. So that's kinda exciting for me. I'm also gonna be asking people not to rank the crises that we are going through, all the chaos that we're going through, but I want you to notice how none of them are resolved.
yeah. And always remember that this chaos that is brought forth is a distraction, but the distraction isn't for you. It's not for me. It's for them. It's for their supporters. It's for their I like cult members. That's who the distraction is for. We're able to multitask. And the last thing I would like to say is if we do look to the future and hypothetically everything goes well, right? We have a 2026 midterms. Democrats wipe the floor, right? They get the House back. They get to hell with it. They get the supermajority. Dreaming, right? We
That
still
that
have to hold them accountable.
we have to hold them accountable. I mean, they've been able to get away with everything because we have not been holding them
Yep.
accountable. What we tend to do is we go into this false sense of security.
Yep.
We lot of gag into this false sense of security, and we believe that they're doing it for our best interest. And when you're looking at the laws that have come into place, no, they're not doing it in our best
No,
interest. It's usually self-interest that comes
we're
into
doing our
play.
partial best interest, just enough to keep us happy, right?
So I would like people to continue to say, appeal Citizens United. And I would
Mhm.
like people to continue to say, get rid of the Electoral College.
Yep. We've
I'm,
outgrown it.
we've definitely have outgrown it. So, and that needs to continue to be up forefront into their faces. And have you noticed not one Democrat, not one Republicans
Thank you.
ever talk about Citizens United?
Nope. Nope. Because they get, I mean, their salary is chump change compared to, what they make when they get lobbied. And as always, I want to remind people that the United States of America sends Israel billions of dollars annually, not including the aid that they're sending now. I'm talking every year they send them billions of dollars, and Israel has the United Health or universal health care.
Yeah.
Israel has free health care, free college. Why
Well,
don't
free
we?
college, they don't have free college. And they don't have free, but they have reasonable cost college, something that's reasonable.
I don't even care
So,
about college. I care about the health care.
right. They also, that's reasonable. Where our college, let's just take one college, will cost anywhere between 13,000 to 26,000 for just a semester. And their college, to my understanding, is like $2,000.
Hmm, it's crazy.
So yes, and they do a lot more. They have unions, they have Social Security, but they actually have a real Social Security.
Yep.
They have
They don't.
the the
They don't have to work until their skin falls off, and they're all skin and bones.
correct, correct. Is your, do you have to work to now for me, it's 67 and a half, something like that? Have you looked up?
Oh no, I haven't, but I've been getting these. Look, I've told you, and I've already talked about it publicly before. You know, I was in an accident many, many years ago, and I've got plenty of screws, plates in my neck, back surgeries, foot surgery, hand surgeries. I'm screwed, right? So I'm on disability, but I've been getting these calls from um that say the Social Security Department has hired these people to call people who are on Social Security disability, uh, and return them to work and leave your Social Security for when you're ready for it.
But
And I'm
that's
like, what part did you not understand? What part of totally and permanently disabled don't you understand? I mean, and then people are like, "Well, you look fine." And I'm like, "Well,
that looks has
disability
nothing
doesn't
to
have
do.
a look."
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
you know how
Absolutely,
many
it
times I've
does
had to
not.
prove it to people? I'm like, "Look, dude, I can't feel my legs." I got a video of my brother, I think, somewhere, slugging me in my leg as hard as he could, and I laughed at him because
Yeah.
80% of the feeling, now it's about 80% of the feeling in my legs is gone. And I have doctors that look at me and say, "How are you walking?"
Well, why don't we put a pin in that? Because the
Yep.
reality is I have a lot to say about Social Security. I have a lot
Oh.
to say about, Social Security disability, and I have a lot to say about SSI. Just to put a pin in it for
Yeah,
right now, I'm
we
gonna
should
put
probably
that
save
on
that
our
for
right.
later.
I'm gonna put that a pin in it, and let's discuss it next week because there is a lot going on there that's being hidden within the newspapers. Another thing just recently came up. So yeah, let's go down that path next week. Thank you
And
for
well,
every
see, are we gonna do Tuesday or
we are gonna do Tuesday. I have not got confirmation yet.
all right,
So, as soon as I get confirmation, I'll let you know. Are you still doing Tuesday with Blaine? So one of us has to get confirmation.
I'll write her. I'll ask her. I talked to her this morning, so,
All right. All
um,
right. So
we'll find out, and if that does happen, for the audience, I'm just gonna,
I'll
we
get it
started to
out
talk
there.
about it. I'm just gonna give her the floor and let her go to town and explain, so hopefully it educates more people.
Okay, so we got stuff for next week. I got some things to send it everybody for once I get this one posted. Sorry for the chaos, our own chaos.
Yeah. I
But
won't be late.
it was, uh, it was my fault that I did not pivot very well. So that was on me. Anyway, thank you for everyone for joining. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Maybe we'll see you sooner than Thursday, but I look forward to it. And Frodo just bit me. Sorry, Frodo. Okay, take care
See you,
all.
everybody.
Bye-bye.